points.
In progress.
For 1%, S&P is down 0.70%, 47 points. The NASDAQ, less than 1%, 0.83%, 208 points. And the Russell is down 1.52%, 37.5 points. Gold and silver have done very nicely. They're both up. Gold went up almost $50, 1.37% past week. Silver is up $1.47. I'm not looking at it right now, but so it's up at 45.35. Well, I'm not supposed to give advice, but I think it's going to go to 80 by December. The dollar remains weak, even though it's up 62 cents from last week. It's still weak, and it's at 98.36. You know, the 52-week high was about $110. The 10, that doesn't make sense. $1.10. 10-year is down, and it dropped even further this morning after PCE numbers were dropped. So it's 4.158, but it was up from last week. WTI crude, I looked back to the beginning of the month. It seems to be strengthening, and it's up $3 from September 5th. Although, you know, it's much less than its 52-week high. It's down about $15, but it is slowly creeping up, you know, like 60 cents each week, 60 cents a dollar. So if you're following oil stocks, they may be doing better. So this morning, PCE numbers came out. You know, that's the number that the Fed likes the best. And it's showing that we just continue to have sticky inflation, but the numbers came in as expected. So the market was flat, and now it's up. Okay, so PCE was expected to come in higher, 0.3% and month over month, and 2.7% year over year, and that's exactly what was reported. But the core PCE, you know, when they take away food and energy, it was only up 0.2% as expected. So overall inflation rose year over year 2.9%. So that had a positive effect on the market. Yesterday also received positive news about initial jobless claims. They were lower than expected. They thought the number would be 235,000, but it was only 218,000. That's all I got. But the market is doing great this morning. Yay.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
How about
Tesla?
how
Never
about crypto,
disappoints.
Jordan? Where are we at with crypto?
Yeah.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
I don't have nearly as much information as Patty's able to provide.
That's okay. We're not comparing.
But yeah, kind of took a little turn this week. You saw the overall total market cap drop from those highs of like 4 trillion. And not that it was crazy, you know, it's like at 3.7 total market cap right now, but it's correlating. Bitcoin's dropping, you know, Solana's dropping. The overall price of the tokens are dropping today, but you know, from a positive standpoint, and this is just kind of some non-biased stuff that's been happening and trending in crypto. Solana's been getting a lot of they had like a big increase in transactions this week because Pump.Fun is kind of bringing out streaming again. They're kind of re-releasing streaming again, kind of with the whole, they're kind of like trying to take on Twitch and Kick and all those live streamers, and somehow it's going to connect to a personal token. There's been rumors of some big time streamers going over to it. But so far, nothing crazy yet. And you know, all that past stuff has been nothing but rug pulls and nothing but a waste of time and money. So I'll be curious to see if that changes, if it grows. And then Aster is like this perp index on Binance, I'm pretty sure, run by, pretty much owned by CZ. And everyone's buying into it because he's promising all these airdrops and people are going to get rich and stuff. And CZ's rich.
Really?
You know, he's arguably, you know, some people say he's going to be the richest person in the world if he's not already, if you want to include crypto. Most people don't include like crypto holdings yet when you talk to like Forbes list and world's richest. So that was kind of interesting and some attention this week. Um, what was the other thing that I wrote down?
I thought that guy was a crook. Didn't he
He
have to go to
served prison.
jail?
He served prison time. He's out.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he is.
That was
Yeah,
quick.
So
he
he
did
was
serve.
a crook.
He was a
Excellent.
So
crook.
yeah, he
We've
did.
established that is correct. Good.
He served prison time. I forget what the exact what it was. I know it was like crypto and money laundering or something like that. Uh, but that was that. And then other than that, honestly, I've been following in Bitcoin right now. Everyone's debating. Yeah, I feel like it's a bunch of smoke stuff. I don't think anything's seriously about to affect Bitcoin, but people are very up air about this knots versus core, mempool filters, what transactions are valid transactions and what's spam transactions, and and you got some big name core people that are proving their points. And even Michael Saylor came out and said something about running knots, and there are some technical differences in how you're uploading the Bitcoin blockchain and how your node is reading the blockchain from core to knots from a technical
Hey.
standpoint. But a lot of times it's just filtering what you think on the mempool, and I think right now it's just what people have time to do. I don't think it's anything. I think both are valid. If you want to put pictures on the blockchain, to a certain extent, but at the same time, I am a small blocker to an extent where I don't want the blocks bigger. You don't need to make bigger blocks. Now they're trying to expand stuff, and then you can put more on the blocks, and I don't know.
All right.
What's
I'm
the advantage
I'm not
of
trying
that,
to. I'm
Let's
having
go.
a bigger block?
So let me just, we're going to try and make this a hard stop today. So we've got, 45 minutes or 40 minutes. Let's first of all ask Jordan what that stuff is on his hat. What's
I
going
knew you were gonna say something. This is actually a digital artist, but he's a
Ah,
physical artist too. Um,
okay.
and I
What's his
wasn't.
name? You
Lean
don't
your head
know?
down. I can't see it.
This artwork's called Letters.
No, there you
Oh,
go.
I
It's
see.
bo it,
Yeah.
it's bothering me that I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head right now, and I'm sitting here and I've looked at so much of his stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Well, if you can think of it, put it in the
Oh, I'm
chat.
typing it in. I'm typing it in right now. Yeah, he
Okay.
was at art. He was at Art Basel too.
5,000 years ago, that was called Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
And today is art.
And now it's art. Yeah. And in
For
5,000
sale.
more years, they'll turn around and think it has religious significance.
There you go. Thank you, Les.
It's
That
bothering
perspective.
me. I'll see it. I'll say something when I find it.
So let me just recap. Well, we got Jason with us today, and thank you, Jason, for joining us. And let me just sort of set this thing up. So, as you remember, we started out talking stable coins and some use cases for Bitcoin, stable coins, and that started out our venture with Bank Social, where John Wingate came on and gave us some of his time, and we enjoyed having him with us. And then we moved on to asking J.R. Schroeder from Representative Timmons' office to join us and sort of not revisit, recap what was going on in D.C. with the Genius Act and the Clarity Act. And so we got some more information and some more depth from him. And then we got into more use cases and Aaron brought in Anchorage Digital Bank, and they talked about the stable coin. That was Kyle, and talked about the stable coins, and then some custody and a number of other things because they are pretty wide ranging institution. So, really targeting for high wealth individuals and corporations. But nevertheless, they came on to our program and we were delighted with that. But that brought also the idea of the custody, uh, I found meanwhile, which is linked to Anchorage in the custody space, but I wanted to just throw that out and as an introduction to Jason, who's with Meanwhile, which is a Bitcoin denominated whole life insurance company. And I'm gonna let him sort of talk about it, but as I was doing a little bit of research, I I sort of asking myself if I bought a hundred, if I in 2025, if I bought $100,000 insurance policy and then I expired in 2035, but the policy didn't expire, but I would leave $100,000 insurance policy to my heirs, but the buying power of that policy has decreased over time, not increased. So I'm really leaving them a decreasing value inheritance, basically. And so that got me thinking a little bit about why don't we do gold or silver? So I called the insurance commission and they said, in South Carolina, you're going to redeem a whole life insurance policy in US dollars, period. That's all you get. And I said, what about other states? And he didn't know. So good for him. But anyway, that's what we got. So let's expand the conversation about, you know, maintaining wealth, passing your wealth on, tax advantages, et cetera, with Jason, and turn it over to Jason with Meanwhile. So thank you. I hope I didn't bother the heck out of you, Jason, trying to get a hold of you, making sure you were going to be on today. But anyway, it's all you, buddy.
All right. No, I appreciate it. Nice to meet y'all. Yeah, George, good introduction. Meanwhile is a Bitcoin denominated whole life insurance carrier based in Bermuda. We're venture backed, so we're backed by Northwestern Mutual, Google, Sam Altman from OpenAI, Bain Capital, Han Ventures, Pantera, Fulgur, Framework, Wences Cesaris. Kind
Wow.
of two in the TradFi and crypto space and insurance space as well. And we're regulated by the Bermuda Monetary Authority, where we have all of our licenses. If you really think about life insurance and reinsurance, pretty much most of those companies have at least a domicile or a branch in Bermuda, and for good reason, because Bermuda is one of the premier insurance regulators in the world. And it's what they do best, and it's what that economy seems to do best. And so um, we were founded in 2022, like I said, primarily by Northwestern Mutual as our main backer. And we've been, you know, kind of flipping the whole concept of life insurance upside down because, as George said, succinctly, when you have a dollar policy and there's this whole concept of infinite banking, be your own banker, get whole life insurance, it goes in the mutual fund in the markets, and you can borrow from it tax free and your dollars grow tax free. But the problem with the tax savings is they get offset by the inflation rate because the dollar's purchasing power is decreasing drastically over each decade.
Yep.
And it's as a result of 2008 financial crisis and QE. It's as a result of the pandemic response by central banks in just printing money and giving free handouts. And so what do you do whether you're young and you want to get life insurance for your family or whether you have Bitcoin? Well, the idea of Bitcoin denominated life insurance is really this, to me, an amazing concept, an amazing marriage of this 300 plus year old financial vehicle, life insurance, and this very young but long-term asset, Bitcoin. Most people that own Bitcoin are thinking long-term. They want to hold it, hodl it for as long as possible. They want to sell as little as possible for as long as possible because you believe it's going to go up a lot in value. The only problem is that when you do need to monetize your Bitcoin, and you think it's going to go up in value and you're validated, you're correct. Well, when you sell it, you're going to pay a very, very big capital gains tax relative to your cost basis. But with Bitcoin and life insurance, because the whole concept of life insurance, especially whole life insurance, is tax-free, the assets grow tax-free, and you can get these tax-free policy loans that you never have to repay. If you could do it in Bitcoin, then suddenly you'll never have to pay taxes on your Bitcoin again. And that's exactly what Meanwhile did. And so I've been in the crypto space since 2013. I was a global macro trader at various hedge funds before I discovered Bitcoin in 2013. So I have low cost basis Bitcoin. I have a wife and two young kids. So, it was time last year for me to really start thinking about life insurance. I have life insurance, cheap policy. If I die, my wife gets paid. And after 10 years, it expires and nothing. But whole life was never appealing to me because it's so expensive. It's prohibitively expensive. And all it does is the dollars go in a mutual fund with a 4 or 5% guaranteed growth rate. NASDAQ's up 16%. It was up 30% at one point this year. To get 4%, I can outperform it. I'm in crypto. I was a trader. I can outperform 4%, even with the tax benefits. I just don't see the appeal anymore of dollar-based whole life insurance at the costs that they're charging. So term makes sense for dollars, but from an investment and this infinite banking borrowing concept, whole life didn't until I discovered Meanwhile last year. And the light bulb just went off super quickly, very bright when I was explained what Meanwhile is. And the fact that it solves legitimate problems for me, for my low cost basis Bitcoin that I will need to sell to, down payment on a house one day or pay for private school, whatever. I don't want to pay taxes. We all hate paying taxes. And the fact that now that I have these two young kids and I have this Bitcoin, how do I make sure that it survives decades, generations in self-custody, Bitcoin in self-custody? I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. I have 60 different accounts, wallets, exchange accounts, etc. being in.
Yeah, it's easy.
Oh my God.
I have everything. It's been my, industry that I've been working in full time since 2014. How do I make sure that if I tragically get hit by a bus tomorrow, that my wife or my kids can access my wallet? Well,
Mhm.
there's no real good solution until life insurance came about. I mean, right now, but before I got this policy, I had literally a treasure map, a piece of paper with the location of my ledger, the combination, the safety deposit locations, where the keys are, what my private key recovery phrase was, the email addresses that I created just for my crypto wallets, my Google Authenticator for two-factor authentication, a YubiKey, a physical device with a rotating token, all these things. I'm the crypto savvy, tech savvy one in my family. My wife, she's a creative. I don't think she could figure all that out. As easy as I tried to make it, I don't think she could figure it out. And that means that I don't think anyone can really figure it out unless you're crypto savvy. So how can you leave crypto to non-crypto savvy people if you were to tragically suddenly die tomorrow? Life insurance solved that problem for me as well. So the way that it works is,
Yeah.
hey, your premiums in Bitcoin, your death benefits paid out in Bitcoin, and you can get these policy loans because it's whole life insurance in Bitcoin, but at a new stepped up cost basis. So let me just give an example of traditional life insurance first, and then I'll bridge it to Bitcoin. So with traditional life insurance, you go to a carrier like Mass Mutual or whoever, and you ask for coverage. You say, I'd like $1 million in death benefit coverage for a whole life policy. They'll then crunch numbers based on your age, health, sex, smoking status, and dictate to you an amount of premium in dollars that you have to pay either each month or each year. And obviously in those premiums, there's baked in fees and expenses, and the premiums in dollars go into a mutual fund with a 4% guaranteed growth rate per year. And that mutual fund grows tax-free. And as I said, you can borrow out of it policy loans tax-free. Let's say it's up 20% after 2 decades, the mutual fund. Well, you need cash, you can borrow from it. You don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half, like with an IRA. You can borrow from it and you don't have to pay the capital gains tax on that 20%, and you don't have to repay the loan. So if it's $1 million policy and you can borrow 100K, then you literally get a check for 100K. You don't have to pay cap gains in the 20%, and you never have to pay the 100K back. Instead, it nets out of your death benefits. Your death benefit was $1 million. Now it's 900,000. That's how traditional life insurance works. But for us to take that model and put it in Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is our currency, where we are on the Bitcoin standard and everything is in Bitcoin and not dollars. Well, because Bitcoin's a scarce asset with finite supply, we had to kind of flip everything upside down. Where with traditional life insurance, you go to them and ask for coverage and they tell you premium you have to pay, we can't tell anyone premium that you have to pay in Bitcoin because we don't know how much Bitcoin you have. Everyone has a different amount of this scarce asset. So instead of asking for coverage, you come to us with an amount of spot Bitcoin, not MicroStrategy, not the ETF, not wrapped Bitcoin, not derivatives, but spot Bitcoin that you want to use as premium. The way that we design the policy is as plain vanilla, simple as possible. It's called a 10 pay or limited pay, non-participating or non-mutual. We're not a mutual company, so there's no dividends because Bitcoin doesn't have dividends. And you pay your premiums over 10 years in equal annual installments, regardless of the dollar price. Everything's in Bitcoin. You really now have to start thinking in Bitcoin. So you come to us with an amount of Bitcoin that you might have that you want to use as premium, and you ask us, what do I get with this? We'll then crunch numbers based on your age, health, sex, smoking status, and give you a death benefit ratio that you get relative to the amount of premium that you want to pay. So for example, a 35-year-old healthy non-smoking male, 10 Bitcoin in premium, paid 1 Bitcoin a year for 10 years, and then you're done for life, pays about 18 Bitcoin in death benefit. So it's an 80% return that you get over the course of your life. We amortize the growth rate, which is 2% per year in Bitcoin terms. We amortize that out to age 100. So for that 35-year-old, that's 65 years of 2% compounded growth rate in Bitcoin denominated terms. And if you do the math, 1 Bitcoin a year for 10 years, 2% per year, 65 years of that growth rate out to age 100 is about 18 Bitcoin. And so that's how you get this return, this 80% return for that 35-year-old. And just as so you all understand, with life insurance, we obviously want to insure people that are young and healthy. So the younger and healthier you are, we project you're going to live a longer life, the bigger the death benefit ratio is relative to the premium. So for an 18-year-old female, the youngest that we insure, 10 Bitcoin in premium is 25 Bitcoin in death benefit. And for a 64-year-old male, almost, we cap at 65, 10 Bitcoin in premium might be like 10.5 in death benefit. So you pay your premiums in Bitcoin, and then the policy loans are where it gets very interesting as well. So for example, let's say Bitcoin goes to $1 million one day. Let's say 5 years from now, Bitcoin's trading at $1 million a pop, and you want some cash. You maybe want to get a down payment on a house. You want to buy a house. You have this Bitcoin policy. Well, Bitcoin at $1 million, you need cash. You have two options if you have an account with us. Option one is just sell Bitcoin at $1 million. Go to Coinbase or wherever, and you're going to pay a very big capital gains tax relative to your cost basis. Option two is originate a policy loan from your life insurance policy. And the way that works is it's tax-free, but because Bitcoin's our currency, you're going to get a new cost basis when you originate that loan. So let's say you go into your account, you log in, everything's online into your Meanwhile account, and you click the loan button. And you'll see that you can always borrow up to 90% of your surrender value. So in essence, it's like a 90% LTV loan. And you want to borrow 2 Bitcoin. Your death benefit, we'll use that same example as earlier, 10 premium, 18 is death benefit. You want to borrow 2 Bitcoin. So you give us a wallet address, a Bitcoin wallet address. We screen it with Chainalysis, make sure it's not going to North Korea. And we send you 2 Bitcoin to that wallet address. At that point, Meanwhile is done because you're borrowing Bitcoin, you're not borrowing dollars.
Yeah.
Presumably you want cash. So now you have to go to an exchange or a broker that you have an account with. And you say, hey, I got 2 Bitcoin, I need to sell at $1 million. And they'll say, okay, but hold on. Where did this Bitcoin come from? And what's the cost basis? Well, you'll have a loan document that says this comes from my regulated whole life insurance policy. Meanwhile, and the cost basis, it says right here in the document, was established on the day I originated the loan. So in this case, the cost basis is $1 million per coin. Yes, I might have Bitcoin at $25,000 a coin many, many years ago, but you're not using that Bitcoin when it comes to life insurance policy loans. You get new, different Bitcoin at a new cost basis that's established on the day you originate the loan. So in this case, $1 million a coin. That base. And they say, okay, and you sell at $1 million a coin, your cost base is $1 million a coin, there's no delta, there's no tax liability, there's no 1099. You get 2 million in cash because 2 Bitcoin at $1 million each. You withdraw it to your account, and now you have 2 million in cash. Your new death benefit, it was 18, now it's 16.
Yeah.
Just like where you didn't have to pay the 20% cap gain traditional life insurance loan from the mutual fund, you don't have to pay the 1,000% gains in Bitcoin. I think we're all bullish in crypto, and we all think that one day Bitcoin will get there. But
So
question
Can
is,
you
can
can you
I?
break down to what? I'm sorry, George. Go
No,
ahead.
I just want Jason to. We got 8 minutes left. I want to have some time
How
for
much
you
does it cost a
questions.
year? Is what I want to know. Sorry, my question is important.
That's fine.
premium. So you come to us with an amount of premium that you want to use. You pay it over 10 years in equal annual installments, regardless of the dollar price. So let's say you have 10 Bitcoin. You want to use 10 Bitcoin as premium. We'll give you a death benefit ratio relative to that premium for that 35-year-old male. 10 is 18. And you pay 1 Bitcoin per year for 10 years, then you're done for life.
But today it's 109. Next year it's 150. How do you figure out what I paid for a year?
1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. We operate in Bitcoin. We don't operate in dollars. So you really got to think in Bitcoin here.
To give us the minimum and the maximum that range that you fit the holding
Yeah.
up Bitcoin in.
The
Real
minimum
quickly.
policy we do in premium terms is 0.25, so a quarter Bitcoin over 10 years. So if you do the math on that divided by 10, that's 0.025 Bitcoin per year in premium for 10 years total. So it's about $2,500 at today's price over 10 years to total 0.25 in Bitcoin premium, and then you're done for life.
Yeah.
The max size we do is 50 Bitcoin in death benefit on any one life. And the way it works with our life insurance product is there's three parties to every contract. There's the owner, the insured, the beneficiary. The owner can be a trust or an individual. They're responsible, or a family office or an entity. They're responsible for paying the premiums, and they have access to the policy loans. Then you have the insured. The insured life is one single human between 18 and 65. The younger and healthier you are, the bigger the death benefit.
Yeah.
So you can have a policy on your child if you're close to 65 and your child is 18 or 20 or 30, because you'll get a bigger death benefit and you still have access to the policy loans. And
Huh.
last is the beneficiaries. When the insured dies, the beneficiaries get the death benefit. They get the Bitcoin, not dollars, but Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Shares can be one child, one person, multiple people, any splits you want. It can be a trust, it can be a charity.
All right. Does anybody want to jump in here? I know a couple of you are savvy in the Mark, possibly either Mark M-A-R-C or M-A-R-K. Want to jump
Hey,
in?
I do.
Yes.
So I'm an insurance broker, life and health, and so I get where you're coming from with all of this. What about the licensing as far as like per state, or is this out of the country? And then how do we know the company? I know you had said something about Northwestern being the backer, but how is this actually the legal framework behind it to know that it's going to last?
Yeah,
A good question.
we're an offshore brokerage based in Bermuda, and like I gave you our backing. We're regulated by the Bermuda Monetary Authority, where we have all of our licenses. We have an independent board of directors and a meticulous regulator that is peering over our, business and operations at all points in time. We have public audited financials on our website, which are actually the first ones ever to be measured in Bitcoin denominated terms, literally a table of numbers with B's in front of each number instead of dollar signs, because we operate in Bitcoin, not in dollars. We're getting reinsurance. We're also talking to AM Best, S&P, and Fitch and Moody's to get a rating as well. So we're doing everything we can to prove to the world that we are a legitimate life insurance company, just like everyone else, that we're in Bitcoin.
Let me let Paul jump in here a second. He's got his hand up, and so jump in there, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. To summarize, what I'm hearing you say is that we come to you with Bitcoin. That's what we use for premium. As a result of that premium, over a 10-pay policy, we get death benefit, which is increased, which is more Bitcoin, and then we are able to take advantage of the price appreciation, right?
You're able to borrow out in Bitcoin, and then you can sell it, but you get a new cost basis. So yes, take advantage of the price appreciation outside of meanwhile by borrowing Bitcoin and then selling it with a new cost basis.
And then when we get the Bitcoin, if we want to take out a loan, that's when we would have to go to an Anchorage Digital or some other place that's going to be able to give us USDC or some, I don't know, maybe a tokenized dollar that we can use.
What you get is when you get a policy loan from us is you get Bitcoin that nets out of your death benefit. And what you do with that Bitcoin is totally up to you.
Yep.
If you want to sell it, it has a new cost basis. So if you get a loan today and you sell it today, then there's probably no tax delta because the loan price and the sale price are equal or close to equal. If you want to just sit on the Bitcoin in another wallet, you can do that. If you want to borrow against it outside of Meanwhile for USDC or something else, you could do whatever you want with the Bitcoin that you borrow out of your loan. It's this whole concept of infinite banking, except in Bitcoin instead of dollars.
Yeah. We got
Okay.
3 minutes. Anybody else want to, or Paul?
So if you don't have a Bitcoin, you can't participate. You have to acquire one Bitcoin first.
0.25 is
Right.
Get started with 0.25,
$25
$25,000.
have actual Bitcoin.
And would you see, I know that you
Gotcha.
deal with Bitcoin, would you see this model applying to other digital assets in the future?
Here's the thing. We, as a life insurance company, we have very long dated liabilities. We have 20-year-olds who have policies. They're not
Right.
going to for projected 70 years. Can you name another crypto asset besides Bitcoin that you're confident will be here in 70 years from now? We can't. Therefore, Bitcoin is probably the only one that makes the most sense for the regulators to also agree that makes sense and regulate and to allow a life insurance company to operate.
Hmm.
All right, we got 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Jim or Mark or anybody else?
Oh, I got 100 questions, but it's not enough for 2 minutes.
Not gonna
Or
work in 2 minutes. Let's
I
Well, come
Yeah.
on again so we can formulate our questions and
Yeah.
then just do question answer if you have extra time.
So here's what we'll
I'll
do.
just-
I
I-
apologize for not extending it, but I just feel like I need to get this one. Let's do this. Daniel Diaz with Sound Citizens for Sound Money is going to join us next week. Then Jason, why don't you kind of put us in the 2 week time frame and maybe come back again? Let me just get a feel from the crowd. And what do you
whatever.
say? What do you say to that?
If you look in the chat, everyone, I
Oh,
posted a DocSend link with collateral. It's a deck overview on
okay.
Meanwhile, more details. I also posted my email address and my Calendly if you want to schedule a call and you want to talk
Nice.
in detail. So
Okay.
feel free to use me as a resource. I'm happy to talk to any of y'all. Like I said, the only catch with this whole concept is time. These things, the Bitcoin policy, the growth, it grows slowly over time. Your surrender value in life insurance grows slowly over time, 2% a year. It's tax free, which is great.
We got less than a minute.
And the last thing is people in self-custody, if you're worried that it might not survive your Bitcoin, well, putting it in life insurance guarantees that it'll go to your family and they'll get more Bitcoin than you ever had to begin with.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. I'm going to be rude and because it is going to cut off here in a second. And we're just going to have a great weekend, everybody. Cox are playing Kentucky here in Columbia. And I don't know what Clemson's doing. Doesn't matter. But anyway, thank you, Jason, for joining us.
Up, everyone.
That
And
was fascinating.
we would love to
Yeah.
have you back
That was.
because you really stirred